What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
And welcome to the UFC, Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
That was an incredible flying knee knockout that he scored last night.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a guy, Nick, that has knocked Israel Adesanya out. And I think the UFC, even though he's very early in his MMA career, only 4-1 now, I believe, he is on a fast track and a collision course, I believe, with Izzy Adesanya, because the rematch there, the build-up, the story behind it would just be too good to pass up.
Yeah, and styles make matchups, and we know these two are always going to throw down. The people, the general public loves standing up and banging. It's in Muay Thai and high-level striking. Israel Adesanya is going to bring that, and Alex Pereira is definitely bringing that to the Octagon. Multiple-time glory champion, kickboxing, Muay Thai, all of that stuff. He's a legend in that world, but he's new over here. He's also created a lot of steam and a lot of buildup behind him. You know, just having a couple of fights one fight in the UFC and a couple of fights in MMA, he's already making leaps and bounds, kind of like a Cyril Gane or like a Khamzat Chimaev. They're just moving up very, very quickly. The UFC knows how dangerous they can be, and they want to make those good matchups. So I really liked it. I thought that the fight last night was really great because he had to deal with some wrestling. He had to deal with some cage work, which is stuff that he obviously hasn't seen much of in his early days, but maybe a little bit in his MMA career. But that sort of stuff, that sort of 5-minute first-round experience where you're dealing with having to work your balance up against the cage and have to work some defense in the wrestling realm, that's really good for him. Those 5 minutes go a long way in his training for the next fight, his preparation for moving up the ranks. He seemed to be able to deal with that pretty well. And then, you know, just vicious knockout power. You don't really see people have that sort of, you know, success with jumping knees and flash knockouts. And sometimes when they do have it in the UFC, it almost looks like an accident or like just sort of a shot of luck. That was no shot of luck. That was pure skill. That was planned out, and it was very, very well executed.
Yeah, and Michailidis was a great first opponent for him because, like you said, he was strong. He did push him. We know how good Alex Pereira is in kickboxing because we all talk about Israel Adesanya being the best striker in MMA right now.
Right.
And so what do you call the guy who knocked him out?
Right.
You know, he's got to be up there as well. So we knew how good his striking was going to be coming into this. But what I was curious to see was if he got in a clinch situation, if somebody put their weight on him against the cage, if somebody took him down, how would he respond? I think, and there's clearly much better grapplers than Michailidis in the 185 division, but I was pleased with what I saw. I think he did a very good job of handling that, getting out, finding his separation, and getting the finish there in the second. But he's like Izzy in the sense that he's so cerebral. When Izzy's in there, he just looks comfortable. You know, we had some friends over last night watching. They don't know a whole lot about MMA, but they use the word comfortability. They said when we watch Israel Adesanya fight, he just seems like he's so comfortable in the cage, standing and fighting and trading shots. And Alex certainly had that last night. He looked so comfortable at range, and that flying knee was a thing of beauty. It was almost a walk-off because, you know, in kickboxing and boxing, when you knock somebody down, you got to give them a second to get back up. It was almost instinctive. He threw the flying knee and walked away, and then was like, oh, hold on, I got to hit him one more time. But it was already over at that point. Beautiful knockout. I think this guy is going to continue to rack up some wins in the UFC. And in a division, we just talked about Kamaru. We just talked about Rose, two champions that have beaten people multiple times. Israel Adesanya is starting to get into that realm as well now. So it makes the list of opponents shorter and shorter, which makes somebody like an Alex Pereira's track faster and faster.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to climb through the rankings. He can just start calling out Izzy early on. People know now with the backstory that he's beat Izzy. Izzy wants to get that win back. Nothing's better for a contender or somebody in the ranks than the champion wanting to get revenge on you, because the champion gets what the champion wants most of the time, especially when you're a company man and you've done so much for the sport like Izzy has. The UFC is going to throw you a bone from time to time, especially if they think you might have a good chance of beating this guy, and then they could get some sort of good trilogy out of it, or, you know, get a couple of good fights out of it. I think that Pereira would bring the best out of Izzy, and it would be a fun fight as far as the striking goes. But until we do see him in there with Izzy and the elite level fighters, I think they need to continue giving him people like Michailidis and maybe like a Gerald Mears chart, something like that, where he's dealing with some wrestling, some high quality MMA wrestling, some experienced guys in that realm. But, you know, let him also build up his highlight reel a little bit. If he's able to keep the fight on the feet and not get taken down and held down and beat up, then he can score some pretty impressive knockouts. Then you've got a highlight reel that worthy of showing, and then you've got some promotion to build up a big fight between him and Izzy Adesanya, which is obviously the reason they signed him. It's not just because he's really impressive. It's because he has a win over one of the best champions the UFC has on their roster right now, and one of the best strikers the UFC's ever seen.
I totally agree, and I hope that fight does happen at some point.
Yeah, well, if you didn't know him now, you definitely do know him. So I'm super excited to see where he goes next, but let's keep this guy active.
For sure. Alex Pereira, guys, learn the name. I think he's going to be around for a while, and we may just see him in there with the style bender at some point. Let us know in the comments what you thought about his performance last night, and how does he match up in the rematch against Izzy? We know that might be a few fights away, but let us know your thoughts now. We always love chatting with you guys in the comments. If you haven't already, a like and subscribe on this video helps us out tremendously, and we appreciate it. And until the next one, have a great day.
Peace.